What's going on YouTube? So we've been living in the lap of luxury this week with the all-new 2023 Genesis G90.
And we want to know, is this just a glorified Hyundai or can it actually take on the Mercedes S-Class and BMW 7 Series?
Let's go ahead and find out right now. So let's start out here with our spec dump and see what's under the hood of this luxury limo. So you're of course gonna have plenty of power between two different power plants, a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, or you can get the optional 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 plus a 48 volt mild hybrid and electric supercharger. That's what we have today, 409 horsepower and 405 pound-feet of torque.
Both engines are paired to an 8-speed automatic, standard all-wheel drive, and as far as your fuel economy, you're sitting at about 20 miles per gallon combined.
But we know you want to see this gorgeous exterior, so let's close up the hood and get into that. Now when it comes to the exterior design, like I was saying, this is an absolutely gorgeous look. As you can see, here in person, it really has this low, wide, mean look to it, and also just incredibly classy while still being flashy, kind of like that Rolex you're saving up for. Now this has a new version of the Genesis design language, but a lot of the signature elements, including the wide grille that goes all the way across the front, it's finished in a smoked chrome. You do have some more chrome accents down here along the bottom of the grille, and then you've got the signature LED headlights. So these are the quad beam LEDs, so you've got that split design. Really makes a Genesis stand out from anything else on the road. Now heading around to the rear design of the G90, it actually has a very distinct look from the rest of the Genesis models. A lot of new design elements have kind of debuted here with their flagship G90.
Yeah, and I have to say, as an all-encompassing package, this G90, she pretty fine all around front and back. Now, as far as some of the design elements, like Drew said, we have the split taillight design. Let's see if all three elements are LED. I will go ahead and tell you if they're not LED, I'm going to be very disappointed. All right, we have an LED brake light portion. We have LED turn signal indicator, and then we also have an LED reverse light down here at the bottom. So all three elements are LED, as you would expect out of a flagship luxury sedan. Then dropping down to that lower area, we do have some chrome accenting to keep everything nice and bougie looking. We're also going to have dual integrated exhaust outlets, and that's going to be standard on every single G90 model.
Now there's only two different versions of the G90 you can get. There's the regular model with the base engine, and then you get the E-supercharged model. That one has a little bit more equipment, including these wheels. So we have the 21-inch alloy wheels with this very elaborate and super good-looking design versus the 20-inch alloy wheels that come standard on the lower model. As we move above that, we do have the signature design element of the turn signals on the side of the model. And then coming up here to the mirrors, of course, these are going to be fully loaded with all the features. So that means auto dimming, power folding, blind spot monitoring, heating, and you have the really nice looking Genesis projection on the ground.
Now, we called this a limo, and you can definitely tell that looking at the side of this G90. Just parked in our driveway this week, it looks like we're really quite bougie. Now, as far as the length, it's 207.7 inches, which is right on par with that of the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. It's going to be a little bit less than the BMW 7 Series now that they added a lot more length for the all-new model, but it's a beautiful design. So as far as some of the individual design elements, you will notice that all the way up here from the front, we have a piece that goes all the way to the rear. One continuous little chrome element there, and I really like the way that looks. We also have chrome window surrounds, and our door handles are popped out right now because the vehicle is unlocked, but normally they are a flush design. Now, as you would expect out of a flagship level vehicle, you will have all four of your active safety features as standard equipment. Now, one thing worth noting is that you do have Highway Drive Assist 2.0, which allows for auto lane changing, but you do not have any hands-free highway driving assist. But guys, let's go ahead and check out that beautifully crafted cabin because we've already seen the beautiful exterior.
You guys are really gonna enjoy this part. Let's get inside, but first let's take a look at our key fob. we do have a really cool new key from the Genesis brand. It's got this cool texture on it. There's also a white version as well as a black version. And of course, smart entry. You also have smart parking system and remote start built into the side there. Now, as we approach the G90, you'll notice the mirrors fold out and the door handles go ahead and pop out, so I don't have to wait on that. You just grab it, they are electronic, and when you do, you can just kind of pull open the door, and I'll show you a little bit of a fun trick on the door in just a second. But first, let's look at that cabin. It is absolutely stunning, just as stunning as the exterior. Now, of course, as a flagship luxury vehicle, you're gonna have a lot of different choices for interior color and materials. So you're gonna have fine Napa leather seating no matter which model you choose, and you've got the choice between Bordeaux brown, dune beige, which is what you see today, glacier white, or a black color option. Now, depending on which model you choose and which color you choose, that is going to change the different woods inside the cabin. But as far as the seats are concerned, these are absolutely lovely. Like I said, fine Napa leather, lots of elaborate stitching details through here, really smooth and supple. Now, as far as your adjustments, you'll see there's a ton of buttons down here. That's because we have 18 ways of power adjusting, including a power thigh extension. We have adjustable headrest and side bolsters, and we have massaging abilities. But let's go ahead and climb inside and take a closer look at everything. Now let's circle back here and talk about these doors. Because we have the E-supercharged models, we have the full power doors. So this is a really cool trick, just like you may have seen in like a Rolls Royce or something crazy like that. Put your foot on the brake, and the door will go ahead and close itself automatically, because closing doors is for a peasant. Anyways, let's take a look around this cabin as a whole, because of course you want to be smothered in luxury, and indeed this Genesis does do that. We'll start out with our door trim. Of course, everything you're going to touch is a beautiful, nice material. So we have leather all through here. We even have a soft touch material on the extreme lower part, leather all through the middle. We have one of several different genuine open pore woods that runs through here, and we have more leather along the top, of course. As far as the windows, they are made of the knurled metal, and of course all four of them are fully automatic. Here are your 3-person memory seating and where you turn on and off your massage. As we move to the upper dash, of course, all of this is finished in a contrasting brown leather with stitching detail, more of the beige leather running through here, more of the open pore wood, and then leather, 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 absolutely everywhere through here, except for this one part right here in the middle, which is a genuine aluminum. So overall, just a absolutely beautifully crafted cabin. And of course, you do have standard push button start, so let's go ahead and fire it up. Now, like always, let's go ahead and move into a first-person perspective and take a closer look at all the details. We'll start off with our gauge cluster. So of course, as you'd expect at this price point, we have a full digital gauge cluster. This is a 12.3-inch display. It's not going to be 3D like it is in some of the other Genesis products, but honestly, I don't miss that feature at all. This is a really crystal clear display, really good graphics as well, and they do change when you change to the different drive modes. What is even more important though is our head-up display, and we've been really impressed by this over the past week. Right now it's kind of in a minimalistic view, right? But as you start driving, more information is added to the display. So you have blind spot information. It even has the cars as they drive past you. So it's really good contextual information that is useful while you are driving. Of course, you do have rain sensing wipers, and let's pull back and take a look at this steering wheel. Really unique design here. I really like it actually in person. We have this kind of floating island. Of course, it's going to be leather covered. All of it is leather covered. And the wheel itself is going to be power adjusting with 2-setting heating. All right, so let's go ahead and also talk about interior storage next. Open up our console here. Plenty of space. We do have 2 USB Type-Cs inside and a 12-volt outlet. And normally we would subject this to the coupon test, but if you have one of these, you don't mess with coupons. You just carry around your fat stacks of cash, and those are going to fit in there just fine. Up in front of that, you got a little slot there. You can stick your cell phone and it will wirelessly charge And then underneath of that piece of leather are your 2 cup holders. Now pulling back to this area, we do have our shifter, of course. This is for our infotainment system. So thankfully Genesis with this G90 has kind of differentiated these a little bit better, because some of their other models, they're basically the same shape and have the same feel, but this one has a totally distinct feel. Now, as you can see, it is a really nicely finished shifter. It's full metal on the sides, glass in the center, and it does have ambient lighting inside of it, as well as haptic feedback so that you really know what gear you are in for sure. Of course, twist over for drive. You do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel if you want to do that with your luxury limo. And then when we go into reverse, this is where you'll find your 360-degree camera system. Nice looking graphics. This is the default view. Of course, everyone's favorite feature though is when you click into that view, then you can scroll all around the vehicle here and get that full drone-like experience. And then for park, just press the P. Of course, you do have electronic parking brake as well as a brake hold function. Back behind that, you will find your heated and ventilated seat controls, both of which are standard, and this is another way you can close the door automatically. Now up in front of that infotainment controller, this is where we have our audio controls. So of course, you have a very high-end audio system, especially here with the E-supercharged model, 26-speaker Bang & Olufsen 3D sound system. So let's go ahead and give that a sample right now. Of course, as you would expect, the sound quality of this system is absolutely fantastic. And you may have noticed earlier, but the tweeters do also rise out of the dashboard. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at our climate controls. So we do have a 3-zone automatic climate control set up, nice and easy to adjust. Just use these little toggles right here. You do have kind of a mixture of physical and touch capacitive controls. So you have a few functions that are located inside of this small touchscreen, including like your heated steering wheel, as well as your automatic, which level of automatic climate that you want. But I do really like that the main aspect of it is still physically rendered, because of course in the S-Class and the 7 Series, both of those use touchscreen to adjust the climate controls. Now, one thing I do want to point out is this little button right here. This is our fragrance system. So inside the G90, we actually have 2 different built-in fragrances that spray through the climate vents. And this does actually go inside of the system called Mood Curator. So that allows you to basically select a different mood. It matches your ambient lighting, sound system, fragrance system, massaging seats, the curtains, everything to that specific mood. So when someone cuts you off and you feel like flipping them the bird, you just go ahead and let that mood curator step in, and it will calm you down with a nice soothing experience. Alrighty, now let's go ahead and take a look at our main infotainment screen. So this is going to be a 12.3-inch display. You can use that knob that I was showing you earlier, or it is also a touch screen. I will say that it's a little strange to me that this is 12.3 inches, because if you've seen our other Genesis reviews, you'll know that those models come with a larger 14-inch display. So it's a little bit strange that this is smaller, but of course it is still a nice high-quality display. We have a different version of the infotainment software on board than what we've seen in the past. So it has, as you can see, these graphics. You do have certain themes that you can choose from. Of course, navigation is going to be built into the system as well. And overall, it's pretty nice to use. I will point out, though, a big flaw of this is that we have wired Android Auto and wired Apple CarPlay. You cannot get it wirelessly. Moving on up, we do have an auto-dimming mirror, home link universal remotes, You have a really nice headliner along the top. These little microphones here are for your active sound canceling. And then of course we do have a dual panel panoramic sunroof. Go ahead and open up that back portion as well. And the front panel does open up.
Oh, I guess I do have to do the review after all. Well, I got a little excited to get in the rear seat of this G90 because it is very, very nice. Now I'm sitting here on the passenger side. I normally sit on the other side, but that's because we have a few special features, which you'll see in just a second. But before we get to that, I do want to talk about your legroom figures and how much space you have in the rear seat of the G90. We're looking at 37.8 inches of legroom, 38 inches of headroom, according to Genesis. Although I'm pretty sure Genesis does not know how to measure because this definitely has more space than that. I'd say it's about right on par with what all of the other German rivals are offering, and theirs are sitting around 43 inches of legroom. Here's the seat adjusted to Drew's driving position, and we're looking at about 11 inches of space between my knees and the seat back. I'm 5'9" for reference, and that would be adjusted to someone who's about 5'8". Now, leaning back, just lots of space. My feet can barely tuck up underneath the seat though, so I would maybe like a little bit more room for my feet. Now, I do want to talk about the features though, so let's go ahead and dive into that because we do have a lot of features with this G90. So here in the center, we are going to have vents as you would expect. We also have them in the B-pillar as well, so you have 4 vents in the rear. If we drop this open, we have a USB-C port, a 12-volt outlet. Not really sure who uses those nowadays, but it is offered on the G90. This is your middle seat. It also folds down to give you all of these controls. So let's go ahead and dive into that. We have our ability to control the radio, stuff from the rear for the front of the cabin. We also have the button to automatically close the door in case you don't want to reach out and push the button on the door. If we triple tap this screen and swipe up, that will unlock a lot of different features. So here's your home screen. The home screen has all of your different settings on here. You have a climate menu. We have our own zone of climate, although it is just going to be 3-zone, not 4-zone automatic. You do also have controls for your 3-stage heated seats. Those are going to be standard on every single G90. The 3-stage ventilated seats are coming on the supercharged model. And then moving on from that, we do have our seat controls. So if you want to adjust your seats via the screen, you can do so in here. You can also use the physical levers here. Since we do have the power adjustments with the E-Supercharged model for the rear seats, I find this to be a lot easier to use than going in the screen. So I'm very happy Genesis included the physical controls. We're not done yet though. We do also have massaging, so we can have a lot of different modes of massage for the rear seats. And then we do also have buttons for our sunshades, so we can go ahead and close all those up. You see we have rear window sunshades here that's going to go ahead and close up, and we do also have the side window door sunshades as well. Now, over here on the door trim, I do want to talk about what you're going to get over here. So, of course, it's a beautifully crafted door trim, leather on almost all of it, metal speaker grills, beautiful wood trim. You're going to have a few buttons on here as well. So this is your button if you want to physically turn on the massage. Once again, I really like how Genesis is giving you physical buttons so you don't have to go in the screen and fiddle around with it for 20 minutes to turn on massaging seats or whatnot. You also have this button right here. This is your rest, and that's why I'm sitting here in the passenger side, because since we have the fully loaded G90 model, we do have a power recliner that's going to pop out here in just a second. You do have to hold down the button, and it takes a little bit of time here. But here we go. All right, so our recliner is going and popping out. Now do keep in mind this is just on the passenger side, but as you can see, I can fully recline out here. I can be literally in the lap of luxury. This is so incredibly nice, guys. I can fully stretch out. I'm 5'9" now. I'm not a 6'5" Shaquille O'Neal or anything, but I can fully recline out here, have my nice thigh support and leg rest here, and I can also fully recline my seat, and the seat itself does also have a pillow, so that makes it nice and comfortable for my neck. Now, As far as some other features, we are not done yet. We have two-person memory adjustments for the rear seat as well. And then up here in the ceiling area, we do have that nice Alcantara trim. We have some more metal speaker grills going through here, and we're also going to have a mirror included if you go for the E-Supercharge model, in case you just want to gaze at yourself and see just how successful you are, in case you forgot in the last 10 minutes since you got in your vehicle. Now, in case you need to put some golf clubs in the back of the Genesis for a weekend golf trip down at the Ritz-Carlton, you do have a decent amount of space back here. You're going to be looking at about 12 cubic feet of cargo capacity if you go for the base model. Now, if you go for this E-Supercharge model, that's going to be reduced down to 10.6 cubic feet of cargo capacity, so you're paying a little bit of a price for having those power adjusting rear seats. I do apologize that we have all of our camera gear back here. It's pouring down rain outside, so we can't throw it on the ground, so my apologies there with that. But a decent amount of space. It's going to be less than the Mercedes S-Class, less than the BMW 7 Series. It's actually a little bit less than the G90, but you don't really buy a car in this segment for the cargo capacity. And one other thing I do want to point out is that if we lift up the cargo floor, I actually can't get it up because they have these stupid nets in here, but you would have a spare tire if you go for the base model of the G90. On this higher end one, they're going to delete that. All right, guys, the moment of truth. We are behind the wheel of the all-new Genesis G90, and of course, that's where flagship sedans always excel. So let's see how good this is, and in typical fashion, we will be talking about a lot of different things, getting our signature sound level reading, seeing how it compares to the S-Class, as well as getting a hard acceleration. So let's go ahead and start with that. Whew. Strong.
Very strong. Yeah, so like we were mentioning with the spec dump outside, you do have a V6 engine, but this is not just any run-of-the-mill V6 engine. This is a 3.5-liter twin turbocharged V6 engine with an electric supercharger as well. So all that together is really going to make this quite quick. If you're wondering an exact 0 to 60 time, Car and Driver tested this at 5.1 seconds.
That feels every bit of 5.1 seconds.
Absolutely. Of course, the power figures themselves: 409 horsepower, 405 pound-feet of torque. You really feel the power build, especially like as you get the revs up. It really feels like you are pushed back in the seat. And, you don't have the V8 option anymore, so I do want to point that out. But that's certainly something that I wouldn't miss at all. The Germans, they do have the V8s. They tend to not be really all that much faster than the standard engines, and this is a prime example of that.
Yeah, typically the Germans with the V8 are about 4.5 seconds to 60, so about half second is all you're shaving off for going for the V8. But more of what their mission is, I guess, is for the V8 noise. I will say, though, with this V6, it has a really nice tone to it. It's certainly very refined. I mean, I love how it pushes you back in your seat, but the V6 noise is just very smooth and refined, which is exactly what it needs to be. You are going head-to-head against a S-Class and a BMW 7 Series, so the engine needs to be refined, and they've done a phenomenal job with this setup here. Now, of course, there is the other engine choice that you can pick, the little bit less powerful one. That's just going to be the 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6. No E-Supercharger on that one. 375 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque.
Now, as far as the other element of the powertrain, that's going to be a buttery smooth 8-speed automatic transmission. What can I say about this except buttery smooth? I mean, it really just kind of blends in the background. Like Mason was saying, that's just kind of the all-encompassing mission of a car like this, is not to make you even really aware of the powertrain. It's just kind of working, and that's exactly
seamless
the way this is.
Power, yeah.
Exactly.
Now, since we are in a flagship luxury sedan, let's go ahead and talk about your ride quality. Now, this is the thing that I was very curious about with the G90, because the S-Class is really my benchmark in terms of the best riding vehicle money can buy, besides for maybe like a Rolls Royce or something like that. And the 7 Series is very good as well. We already tested that out this year. And the ride quality on this G90, I will say, does not disappoint. This is a phenomenal riding vehicle. Since we do have the more expensive E-Supercharged model, that means we have the multi-chamber air suspension, which just smooths out almost every road imperfection. I mean, it does a phenomenal job. You'll see it as we go over this bridge abutment here, and it just really soaks up any bump that you might even see in the road. And it is worth noting, though, that is not standard on the G90. So if you go for the base model, you're not going to have the air suspension. I assume your ride quality would be a little bit worse. But in terms of how it compares to the rivals, I'd say this is very close. If it's not as good as like a BMW 7 Series, I'd say it's like 95% of the way there. And I'd say the S-Class might be a little bit better, but it's going to be very hard to tell the difference between them, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Like maybe if you had them all back to back and you drive them up and down the same stretch of road, you might find, some subtle differences. But this group of vehicles is just, oh my goodness, amazingly smooth. I mean, there's nothing like it. This is certainly the best kind of vehicle to have if comfort is your ultimate priority. This is when you have an important business meeting to get to.
Yeah. Such a amazing driving experience overall. All right, now let's get our sound level reading going 55 miles an hour. I'm sure you're curious about this as well. All right, slow it down a little bit. It keeps moving on me, but we finally settled at 51.7 decibels as our sound level reading. You can't make this up, guys. That ties with the BMW 7 Series. So,
all right.
The Mercedes S-Class still has it beat at 50.7. So that is the quietest car we've ever tested on Car Confections channel. So you're just a tiny bit above that, which is just a testament to how isolated you feel inside of this cabin. The ride quality, the noise entering in, it's just like an amazing isolation experience, and I love it.
Yeah, they talk about, library quiet, but it really is library quiet. I was driving around last night a bit just by myself. I didn't have the music on or anything, and it was eerily quiet at highway speeds, even faster than 55. I was going 75, and it was just eerily quiet. I was like, wow, I could just hear myself breathing. It was almost a strange experience, you could say. It's just that quiet.
Now, all-wheel drive is standard equipment on every single G90 model. Your fuel economy for the E-Supercharged model is coming in at 17, 24, 20 miles a gallon combined. And if you go for the traditional just twin turbo model, that's going to be 21 miles a gallon combined. Would recommend going for the E-Supercharged model. If you're going to spend this much money, I imagine I'd just spend the extra money. You're getting quite a few more features with that model, and the fuel economy is not that different. And it's worth noting that's about the same fuel economy as the V8 offerings and like the Mercedes and the BMW. The inline 6-cylinders that they offer do get slightly better fuel economy than this G90 though.
Yeah, so it's a little thirsty for sure. All right, we're going into sport mode. First of all, it actually adjusts the seat completely. A bunch of different adjustments, blows up the bolsters and stuff. Now, I'm not sure how many people are actually going to use sport mode in this, but I have to say, I'm actually pretty darn impressed by this, because you'd think driving a vehicle this large, this luxurious would be a scary proposition on a back road, and actually it's not. And I'm going to tell you why. The main reason is because we have the rear wheel steering system on the E-Supercharged model, and that makes this feel so much smaller out on a back road than it actually is. It feels really amazingly agile. You just have that really quick turn in when you go around a corner. Not to mention that the air suspension does make adjustments to be firmer now that we're in the sport mode, and the steering is a little bit more responsive. Now, don't take that to mean that you're going to have, a replacement for like a G90.
G70.
Of course, that's going to be a pure sports sedan that's really buttoned down and made for the driver. But, if you need to hustle this, you certainly can, and it won't feel like dangerous. It'll actually be a relatively pleasurable experience.
And now we need to get into our other Car Confections signature element, our slam dunk and our air ball. Now, for today's slam dunk, there are about 100,000 things I could pick to slam dunk because I really like a lot about this new G90. But I think my favorite element is just gotta be the exterior design. This thing is drop dead gorgeous. Drew and I were talking about this on the outside of the car, but I think this is the best looking flagship sedan money can buy. The S-Class is classy. The 7 Series is, well, whatever you want to call that. And then the A8 is pretty bland and boring. And this is a really good mix of classy, but still not boring. Genesis needs to pay their designers more because they need a bonus because they do a phenomenal job with every car that they're designing.
Now for the airball side of things, that's going to be the technology. Not to say that this is a bad amount of technology or that anything in here doesn't work well. It does. The thing is, though, the benchmark for tech is so high when you look at the S-Class, the 7 Series, that this does fall kind of flat. The display is a little bit small. You don't have wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You don't have like augmented reality in the head-up display. And I could go on with some other examples. It just kind of is missing that level of extreme technology that you get in the new 7 Series and S-Class.
Yeah.
Now, as I come to a stop up here at this red light, do pay attention since this is a mild hybrid system. One of the things it can do is power off the engine before you actually come to a stop. That's just another little way that you can save fuel by having the mild hybrid. And then it does power, of course, a smooth and advanced auto start stop, which I'll demonstrate now. Very nice. You have just the tiniest little feel vibration when you first take off. It's not quite as smooth as it is in the S-Class, but it is very close.
And the last thing worth considering when you're looking to buy a G90 is the warranty information. Now, the Germans, of course, they have their own respective warranties, but the Genesis warranty is actually going to be significantly better. You're sitting at a 5-year, 60,000 mile basic warranty, 10-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty, and you're also going to get 3 years and 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. Now, this Genesis G90 is not just beautiful on the inside and outside, it's also going to be a value option, I guess if you can call any type of flagship luxury sedan a value compared to some of its rivals. So you're going to be starting at about $88,000 if you go for the base G90 model. Now, there are only the 2 different versions you can pick from, so the price jumps up to about $98,000 as a starting point if you go for the E-Supercharged model. Now, when we add in all the destination and optional paint color, this one has a $500 optional paint color. We're going to be and a $1,095 destination charge. We're looking at $100,295 for this G90 as tested, which honestly is a very good value for what you're getting here. And guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of this very bougie, all-new 2023 Genesis G90 E-Supercharged. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button down below. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We have a merch store that you can check out. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.